Well, we have another classic, just needs a carb clean find. This is a 2005 Kawasaki Prairie 700 twin. And the seller said it ran a couple years ago. Put it away in storage, and he said it wouldn't fire back up. He's guessing it just needs a carb clean. That's what he told me. Right now it just cranks and cranks and cranks. It doesn't fire up. So turn it on. And same with the choke. Pull the choke in. So it's not firing. We gave it throttle. That does nothing. So that's kind of all we know about the machine. We just know it doesn't run. So hopefully the seller was telling the truth and it just needs a carb clean. We won't know until we start digging into it. But the rest of the machine looks pretty decent. You know, there's a couple cracks in the plastic, missing plastic here, a couple zip ties here and there. You know, but overall, it's pretty decent. Seat's not ripped. Racks aren't completely rusted out. Tires are pretty good. You know, the rest of the machine looks pretty decent. And I ended up paying too much for this. We ended up paying $800 for a non-running machine, which I feel like is a lot of money. But if the seller was telling the truth and it only needs a carb clean, this would be a really good deal. These probably sell for $2,000. So we're hoping we can get lucky today. And we're hoping this thing needs minimal repairs. But we'll see. Let's see the mileage. Hopefully it's not too high. I didn't even look at that. Ooh, it's getting up there. 4,581 miles. That's just on the verge of needing a rebuild. So hopefully it doesn't smoke if we get this thing fired up. Otherwise the whole thing needs to come apart and we have to rebuild it. But yeah, this one should be pretty interesting. So let's get this thing off the trailer. And we're going to make it a goal for today to get this one up, running and driving by the end of the video. Well, we got this thing in the garage. It was pretty easy to push, so that was helpful. But let's start taking a look at it. So it does turn on. You can hear the fuel pump. Yep, fuel pump is working. There is gas in it, according to the gauge here. And the oil light is blinking. That might go away when we get this thing to fire up for the first time. Let's see if the lights work. Lights. Yep, lights are working. Low's working. Let's see if the brake light's working. Yep. So all the lights work. Cool. Let's see if it shifts. Doesn't tell you what gear you're in. I don't know, but the neutral light does work, so that's good. And then this is the front diff control, so you can lock it up with that control, kind of cool. And then you've got your electric start here, on off here, and then I believe this is the 4x4. Let's see if that's working. Yep, you can see it. Cool. So that is working as well. So everything appears to be working on the gauge. All right, let's check this oil out, see how bad this is. Got the dipstick right down here. Take a look. Looks pretty good. Yep, doesn't smell like gas. Let's see what level we're at here. We're right between low and high on the dipstick. If we screw it in all the way, I think we'll be to the high mark. So this thing might have been smoking. Yeah, it's a little bit low. See that? It should be up to the high mark right there. It's a little dirty. So probably could use an oil change. looks a little dry in there. And then down here, that's supposed to be filled up too. So I think we're a little dry on the coolant. Let's add a little bit. Not dripping out. Alright, we'll see what that does for us. Take a look underneath the seat. Alright, you've got the CDI here. Fuses here. Take a look at those. Solenoid. Relay. Looks like you've got something in here. A rag, a couple spare fuses, spark plug, wire, and your batteries up here. Those connections are nice and tight. Looks like you've got your fuel pump here. All the wires are connected, everything looks pretty good. Then the airbox is up here. Let's quick check the fuses first, make sure those are all good. I'm sure they are, but we'll check them just to make sure. Alright, what do we have for fuses here? Engine brake control, that one's missing. Radiator fan. Accessories. Yeah, these are none of the main fuses. Those all look good. On these fuses. That one's good. That one's good. I think that one's just a spare. Yep. So all the fuses look good. Who thinks there's an air filter in it? I'm guessing probably not. Oh yeah, there's one. Looks pretty new. Let's get this off. Looks really good. So there's the air filter. Looks like there's some, I don't know what that is. Is that oil coming up through there? Yeah, that's oil. Oil is saturating the air filter. Look at all that. Yeah, that's definitely oil. That's not gas. Look, it's all saturated right here. Let's take a look. That is very strange. So oil is coming up through the carb, or coming into the airbox somewhere. Yeah, look at this. That's oil. Look at way down here. I don't know where that's coming from. There's a little breather hose here. I don't think it would be coming from there. Well, we can take off this whole box and just try to see where that oil's coming from. There's a lot of oil down there. Look at all the oil pooling. Holy. There's like a big pool of it. So I don't think it was the air filter leaking. Look at all that. It's all oil pooling there. It's gotta be from that breather, right? Where else would that come from? Yeah, there's oil coming up through there. Still dripping through that hole there. That's where that breather hose was connected to. So oil is definitely dripping all over the place. Let's take a look. So yeah, look at, there's a bunch of oil in there, in that hose. So it's dripping out. So where does that lead to? That goes down. Well, that doesn't lead to anything. So that goes down to right here. What the heck? So how is it getting oil into there? See, that's that tube. So it doesn't look like oil's coming through that line. Looks like it's draining out through there. So somehow we're getting oil to the airbox. So the crankcase breather appears to be right here, but there's no oil down there at all. It's not wet when you touch it. See, it's not wet at all. So I don't know if it's coming through there, unless it, you know, was a previous issue and because somebody overfilled the oil and then the air filter got wet and that never happened again. I'm not sure. So we're just gonna move on from here. I don't think the crankcase is pushing up oil. We won't know until we start this thing up. But yeah, we'll have to clear out this breather line, make sure that doesn't have oil in it, so air can escape. But yeah, that could be why it's not running. It's just packed full of oil. Look at all the carbs are packed full, all those passageways. So that could definitely be an issue that we're having here. But let's take a look at the spark next, make sure we have spark, and then kind of go from there. The plug for this one's way down there, and then there's another one over here somewhere. We might have to take off the boot here. I can see it kind of coming up through there. Not sure where it sits. All right, let's make our lives a little easier. Get off this front plastic first. All right, all the plastics are off there. We can kind of get the things a little easier. Make sure everything's good to go, but here's the first plug. tight in there. Let's try to get to the second one. So we're going to take this plastic off here. Alright, all the plastic's off. Now we can actually see what's going on. Here is the other plug. Let's see if I can get in there. It's a tight fit. But I'm looking for any leaking around the head. Not seeing anything. I think that might be from when I took the airbox off. A little oil leaking down there. Really not seeing any leaking. You can see where this hose leads to. See, it's a crankcase breather. Yeah, I don't see anything too bad. That oil leaking is from the airbox as well. Looks like it was leaking pretty good. You know, right there. So maybe it was coming from the airbox and leaking there. Just continuously dripping. Not sure. Just a little carboned up. Running pretty rich, and that might be from burning all that oil coming through that carb. NGK CR7E. Alright, before we check for spark on that plug, let's take out the other one. You guys can kind of see it right down in there. Can't really get a good angle on it. Let's see, maybe I can tip this up. You guys can see that or not. Let's see. Can I even get my wrench down in there? There we go. It's coming. That plug is pretty wet, actually. Pretty carboned up as well. Same plug in there. Alright, we can check for spark on this one first. Let's hit the start button here. Oh yeah, there's spark. Definitely spark. So on the rear cylinder we have spark. Let's see about the front. Just gonna put that right down here, I think. Alright, here we go. Yeah, there's spark. Battery's dying though. So we do have spark on both the front and the rear cylinder. So we're getting spark. Do we have compression? So this machine has a decompression mechanism. So we're not going to get a super accurate rating for compression, but let's see what we get. And if we spin it fast enough, we might be able to bypass the decompression and get an accurate reading. Let's see. Alright, according to the forums, anywhere from 50 to 75 is pretty good for these because you just have the decompression mechanism. So let's see what we get. Throttle open. Here we go. Exactly 50, so on the lower end for sure. Let's see what we get for the front cylinder. Let's see what we get. Again, throttle open, crank her over. All right, good. So both the front and the rear have right around 50. The front has about 52, 51, and the rear has 50 exactly. So compression looks pretty good. It's on the lower end. It should be between 50 and 75. So, you know, it could be a valve that's slightly open. We can try adjusting the valves. I'm guessing maybe the intake valves are a little bit open, but we'll see. All right, we're at the rear cylinder. We're gonna take off the valve caps here, and we're gonna check the valve clearances. That one appears to be stripped out. There we go. I don't think those have been off in a while. Ouch. Right by the pull cord here, there's a little window. Let's just look at the flywheel. There's gonna be a couple marks on here. TF for top dead center front cylinder, and TR for the rear. So let's take a flashlight and look down there, and we're gonna do the rear first. So let's see. Pull this thing over. And you can actually take this off and take a wrench to it as well, but I think we can use the pull cord. It's not too bad. Just don't want to overshoot. That's F. That's TF. So we might end up taking that off. Let's see if we overshoot. One underneath here. There we go. Alright, that's a little easier now. Alright, let's see where we're at here. It says TR. And we come up here, you want these to be loose so you can hear them. Those intake valves are pretty tight. Those exhausts feel good though. You can hear them. But the intake need to be adjusted, I think, a little bit. Can't hear those at all. So those might be a little bit tight. All right, let's get the specs and adjust those. All right, so the intake valve clearance on this machine is gonna be 4 to 6 thousandths of an inch. We are not at that. We are way smaller than that. So we definitely need those adjusted. The exhaust is gonna be 8 to 10 thousandths of an inch. So let's just see if any of them fit for the intake or the exhaust. So we'll start with 5 on the intake, see if that fits. Nope, those are really tight. So it doesn't fit in there. Let's see if the 8 fits for the exhaust. That one might, because we could feel that one. Because we could feel the play in there. Yep, that just fit in. That one's good in the exhaust. Check the other one. It's hard to get in here. Oh, perfect. So exhaust valves are perfect. The intake are the ones that need to be adjusted. Loosen these nuts up on here. And we're going to set these to 5/1000ths of an inch. Just so it scrapes in there like that. Typically they're gonna move a little bit when you tighten this up. See if we're still good. Feels pretty good. Let's see what this one's at now. Good. Those are perfect. Now I can hear those clicking. Before I had no play whatsoever. So, just for fun, let's crank this over and see if compression went up. Open all the way. Nope, still a 50. So it's definitely good that we adjusted them though. All right, rear cylinder valves are now within clearance and those are set to spec. So on to the front cylinder here. Oh. Budge. Okay, so oil's getting to the top end. Take the engine to TF. TF we're looking for. There's the TF. You can see. You come up here. You can check the intake valves. See right through here. I don't hear anything. Those are pretty tight actually. But the exhaust valves, those feel pretty good. So intake again are really tight. So we have to adjust the intake. The exhaust I'm sure are fine, but let's check them with the feeler gauge. They should be 0.008 of an inch. Yep, that one slides in. Let's get the other one. Yep, that one slides right in. All right, intake. We're gonna check. Those should be 5/1000ths of an inch. Let's see where we're at. You guys probably can't see anything in here, but extremely tight. Feeler gauge is not fit. Intake valves are adjusted. Now you can hear them click. Kinda. Hard to get in here. Hopefully you guys can hear that. So those are clicking good. Set to 5,000. So let's see if the compression changes. It would be right around 50. Throttle open. Yep, 51. Didn't change at all. All right, so it looks like we have good spark, good compression now, and the valves are adjusted. So that leaves the carbs. So maybe the seller was telling the truth. Let's get these carbs off and start investigating. The only other thing that might be a problem is the timing. Maybe that timing skipped a tooth on the cam gear. You know, anything is possible. So if we clean out the carbs and it still doesn't fire up, it definitely could be timing. But let's not jump the gun. Let's get the carbs cleaned out first, and then we'll start diagnosing other things. But yeah, could definitely just be the carb. Get the clamps off. Out of here. And we can test and see if that fuel pump's working too. See if this thing's getting gas. So right here is where the gas goes in. So we can get that off first. Wow. It looks like gas was in the line. Let's see if that fuel pump's working. Let's see if anything pumps out of here. Turn this to on. Yep, you can see it's filling up. There's the gas. Let's do one more time here. On and off. Going everywhere. Yeah, fuel pump's working really good. Gas looks perfectly clear. I don't see any water in the gas at all. Looks pretty newish. Connected by a lot of different things. We've got the choke. We've got coolant lines going to here. Now I can kind of pull this out a little bit. Now, we can get our throttle off. You want to drop these down into the engine. These can just pull out like that. Let's see if those are working. There's a little lever here. Yep, choke is working. Right now this should be free. Let's see. There we go. All right, let's start digging into the carbs. I think most of the gas poured out when we were taking off the carbs. Definitely has gas in them. Looks pretty clean. Huh. Looks really clean in there. Pin was free. Floats look good. Needle feels good. So far, no issues. Let's see the seat. Seat looks good. No crap in the seat. Alright, so far so good. Get our main jet out. See if that's clear. 142 for the main. That is clear. A couple years. Yeah. Yeah, pilot's really clogged. I think that's the problem. I mean, you can't see through it at all. It is really heavily clogged. I have a feeling it's something more serious though. That looks good too. Our fuel screw right here. See me turns out on the fuel screw. We are 1, 2, 2 3/4 turns out. Should be a spring in there. There we go. I think there's a little O-ring down there too. We can fish out of there. But everything else looks pretty good. So we're going to open up the diaphragm, see what that looks like. Spring was in there, that looks good. The little jet in there was free. That looks good. No rips or tears in the diaphragm. Looks perfect, that little jet is open there. That looks perfect. So really the only issue with the carb so far is that the pilot was really clogged, and these passageways that have oil pouring into them are clogged as well. So we're going to blow out everything really well, get some carb cleaner in here and spray through everything, and we'll go on to the next carb. But let's take a look at the front carb now. See what's going on with that. Look. That's pretty darn clean in there. I see a little speck of something poking on. Get that out right away. Needle looks brand new. See, this one's clogged too. Oh man. Yeah, that one's heavily clogged as well. Can't see through that at all. Alright, main jet is a 138. That one was clear. Fuel screw was 1, 2. Only 2 turns out on that one. It looks pretty clear. Diaphragm. Looking for any rips. That little jet there is open. No rips in the diaphragm. Alright, so that's about the same condition as the other carb. Only issue was the clogged pilot, which is probably just from sitting for a couple of years. So not too bad. We're going to blow through that one, clean that one out, and get these reassembled onto the ATV. Well, we got the carbs back on. So we've got spark, we have compression, and we know fuel's going to the carbs. Let's see if this thing fires up now. We gotta keep an eye on that oil too. Gotta see where that oil's coming from that was in the airbox. All right, let's see what happens. We'll choke her and good to go. Key on. Here we go. She fired right up. Sounds pretty good. Burning off some old oil on the pipe, looks like. Now we're looking for any oil coming out of anywhere. I'm picking from the crankcase here, the breather. Let's see. Box on for the carbs to work right. I don't see any oil coming from anywhere. She fired up instantly. This is blowing air. See any oil. Popping out there a little bit. Coming out of the breather at all. So I'm thinking they must have overfilled the oil at one point, and that's why I was doing that before. Yeah, it doesn't look horrible. Alright, well, I think we might put the airbox back on and see if it revs out completely. But yeah, so far so good. All right, airbox is all hooked up. Let's see if she revs out completely. That sounds pretty good. Just take off this breather hose. No oil coming out of there. So we'll let this run for a bit and then check that, make sure there's no oil. Then we should be good. Sounds pretty darn good. I don't know. I think adjusting those valves really helped too, because it's idling perfect. Well, I think this one might be fixed. Hopefully there's no oil going to the airbox. Clear that out. That had a bunch of oil in it. All right, let's get this front end back together here. Well, this one's all good to go for the first test drive. Let's see if she goes into gear and actually moves. So far, we're getting pretty lucky. No smoke at all. It's a good sign. Well, looks like we have a little bit of a problem here. Coolant spraying all over here. You can see, I looked up in here, and this piece right there, if you guys can see how that's broken off right there? That is supposed to go into that hose that was shooting smoke out of it before. Where is it? You can see the end of it up there, I think. I don't know if you guys can or not. There it is right there. So that's shooting coolant out of there. It should be going to that white thing and then into the carb and through the carb down that line right there. And because that white thing is broken off here, it's not doing that. So is this like a filter type system? I don't know what that is, but it should be holding it in there. So we need a new one of those. So that's why we were lower on coolant as well. So that was the main issue with this thing, I think. So I think we're going to order up one of these, connect it back into there, and we should be good. But right now we're losing coolant pretty quick because this is pouring out of there. But yeah, it only started pouring out coolant when this thing got up to temp. Otherwise you wouldn't know it had that problem. So I'm guessing the seller probably saw it pouring out coolant, let it sit for a couple of years thinking he'd get to it, never got to it, and then just listed it up for sale. Probably thought it was like a head gasket or something that blew. So that is very interesting. Very, very interesting. But yeah, now we can fix that problem. That shouldn't be too bad. Well, looking a lot cleaner. Cleaned up pretty good. So now we're gonna go look for that part here. You can see it looks like maybe somebody forgot to connect that and it melted on the engine. So someone probably did a carb clean and then just left that off and it melted like that. Because that's how it looked when I took it off. So let's go and see if we can find a part number and then look that up. What is Vinny doing? Crazy dog. Hey, come on. Vinny, come. Vinny, come. Right in the back of the house. Come on. That's crazy. Come here. Come here. Come on. What are you doing? You're looking fluffy today. You want to come see the four-wheeler? Come on. What do you think, Vin? What do you think? Alright, looks like we found the part on eBay. It's just called body. There's one for $8, 14 bucks. So they're all right around like 15 bucks. Not too bad. But that's exactly what we need. So that's what that's supposed to look like. Right there. So you can see the end of it right there. That's supposed to go into the hose. Broke off, and then this part is melted through. Once we get that new part, this thing should be fixed and good as new. But that's why we were low on coolant, for sure. So luckily, this one turned out to be a pretty easy fix. For 800 bucks, I think we did pretty good. So all this thing needed was a good carb cleaning. The pilot jets in both cars were completely plugged up. And then the intake valves, both intake valves on this machine were pretty tight. So I think the combination of the valves and the clogged pilots led to the no start issue on this machine. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video of the 2005 Kawasaki Prairie Twin 700. Picking it up for 800 bucks, diagnosing it, getting it to run, and taking it for the first ride. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video, and until next time, we are out.